Hey everyone, Ryan from Ebike Escape, and in this video we're going to be reviewing the Gen 3 Stride electric bike, so let's get into it. Before we get started with the walk around, if you are looking to purchase a Gen 3 electric bike, please consider using the link in the description before you make your purchase. It's a free and easy way to help support the channel, and it makes videos like this one possible. Thanks in advance for your support. I will also put links to our electric bike accessories list, top e-bike brands page, and finally our electric bike discounts code page, where I track all the deals happening on electric bikes. Speaking of sales, Gen 3 recently had a sale, $400 off all of their electric bikes. So that made this $14.99 electric bike, took the price down to $10.99, making it a pretty incredible deal. So definitely check out our electric bike discounts code page if you're in the market for an electric bike. Again, if you use those links, it also helps support Ebike Escape. With that, let's take a closer look at the Gen 3 Stride Step-thru electric bike. Talked about the price, $14.99. One thing that is super interesting about Gen 3, they are a newer brand to me, but these are sold on bestbuy.com, and I believe I also saw them for sale on Costco's website. So definitely something to keep in mind if you're looking at one of these electric bikes. Let's get a closer look at the Gen 3 Stride. One thing to note is it is a little bit lighter than some other electric bikes that you might be looking at. This weighs 56 pounds. Up front on the Gen 3 Stride, we have 26 by 1.75 inch tires. Definitely a little bit more narrow, going to feel best on pavement and paved paths. For brakes on the Gen 3 Stride, we have 180 millimeter rotors with Gen 3 mechanical disc brakes. And this bike does come fully outfitted with front and rear fenders, have some pinstriping, adds to the aesthetics on this electric bike. We do have an integrated front light as well. Now, in my opinion, on a lot of these front lights on electric bikes, they're pretty good for being seen on the road when you're riding at night. But if you want something a little bit more powerful, I highly recommend external rechargeable lights. I really like the flashing modes for the day. And of course, they're going to be a wider beam so you can see better at night. The Gen 3 does have a front suspension, and it does have a lockout here. We'll go ahead and open that up, and I'll give you a little bit idea of what you can expect from this front suspension. Now, this bike is on the more affordable side, and it's about what I would expect in a front suspension. Definitely going to help out a little bit when you're riding, soaking up some of those bumps. Of course, this bike is more suited towards riding on the road, but if you encounter any bumps along the road, you do have some front suspension. I always like to point out some of the details on these electric bikes. You can see we do have some cable wrapping here. On part of the cables, they do come into a nice bundle and then of course go into the frame here for a pretty clean look. Okay, let's move on to the cockpit of the Gen 3 Stride. So we have Gen 3 branded brake levers here. They do have the rubber grip. That's nice to see. And it does have an integrated bell here. Sounds pretty good. And it does come with locking grips here. That's really nice to see. Not necessarily something you see on some of the more affordable electric bikes. It does have a palm rest as well. Now on the Gen 3 Stride, we have a very simple display, as you can see here, monochrome display. But what I do like is the throttle hugs the display very nicely here. This is actually a throttle that I haven't seen on any other electric bike, so I assume it is paired with this display. Of course, we have pedal assist up and down here, pedal assist up to 5, and hitting the M button is going to change the information. Right now, we're looking at miles per hour as well as the odometer, and there's the trip odometer and the trip time. And back to odometer, we do have a battery indicator. It's not a percentage, just gives you the bars. And then we do have a light indicator because I do have the front light on. Pretty standard flat handlebars here. Definitely gives you some room if you want to put some accessories on the Gen 3 Stride. Moving on to the right side, we have the Shimano 7-speed thumb shifter, a very common component you'll find on many electric bikes. Gets the job done. Now, this is a very accessible step-through electric bike, but what you might want to consider if you're looking to be in a more comfortable riding position, you might want to consider putting an adjustable stem on here. Now, as you can see, the Gen 3 logo, this is actually not how it comes. This was a mistake on the electric bike that I received, but if you look at the other side, you can see that Gen 3 is how it is supposed to be. It is upright. So definitely some subtle branding here from Gen 3. And I really like this pearly white color. Hopefully you can tell on the camera how this looks. Looks pretty nice. And we do have an integrated battery here. That's always nice to see, especially on some of the more affordable bikes. And we do have a battery indicator here, red, green, and blue. Blue being full, and of course red being almost empty. So if I push this button here, you can see it's green. So right in the middle for capacity. Of course, that display is going to give you a little bit more of an accurate reading. Now, this battery is a 48-volt, 10.4 amp-hour battery. Sometimes with this price range, you'll find 14 amp-hour batteries, but definitely seen 10 or so amp-hours as well. And of course, this battery is removable. You can see I have the key here. You do not need the key in order to ride this electric bike. But if I turn the key to the left, I can pop this battery out. Nice and easy. Really like this integrated battery. Pretty easy to hold with one hand. Of course, putting it back, simply put the bottom in first and it snaps into place just like that. And of course, you can also charge the battery down here while it's on the bike. Moving on to the rest of the frame, you can see we have bottle cage bosses there. That's going to be nice and handy to be able to put a water bottle cage. Of course, you can mount a foldable bike lock as well. We do have metal pedals on the Gen 3 Stride. These are very similar to ones you'll find on so many electric bikes in the price range. If you want to add some styling to your electric bike, you can definitely opt for some other ones, and they do have reflectors as well. Really like that this kickstand, which is nice and wide, is located towards the rear of the bike, so you have no issues with the pedals coming in contact. Moving on to the rear of the bike, of course, we have the rear fender. Now, these are plastic fenders, but I have to say I was pretty impressed with the sturdiness of the rear plastic fender. I was able to put this on our 1UP USA bike rack. Of course, the challenge with that bike rack is sometimes bikes with fenders, but I found that when I attached it, I had no issues, felt very confident that these fenders were nice and sturdy and the bike wasn't going to go anywhere and the fenders weren't going to break either. Let's move on to the rear of the bike. Of course, we have the rear mechanical disc brake here, and we do have this rear rack. Now, this does have a 25 kilogram capacity, and it does have pannier hangers. Really like that. Nice that they include a rear rack for an electric bike at this price range. Let's talk quickly about the saddle. Just a standard saddle, I would say. If you're looking for something with some additional comfort, be sure to check out our electric bike accessories list. That's where I compile the most popular seats that I see people purchase. Moving on to the back of the bike with this blaze rear light. Now, something important to note, this is not an integrated light. There's actually a switch beneath here. And so with that switch, you can turn the light on or off. So would have liked to see something integrated, perhaps a change that they can make in the future. Powering the Gen 3 Stride, we have a Bafang rear hub motor. Always good to see the name brand. A lot of companies will brand them themselves or perhaps include a motor that has no branding. I actually like to see some of the name brands, would like to see more companies do that, and of course it's always nice to see a Bafang motor. This is a 500 watt nominal 900 watt peak motor. Be sure to check out the first person riding footage because I talk about how this motor performs. In the rear here, we have 14 to 28 teeth. We have a Shimano tourney rear derailleur, the most entry-level component that Shimano offers, but I find that you can still adjust it if you need to, and for a vast majority of people, it's going to get the job done just fine. We have a 40-tooth front chainring, double-walled. Really like that, going to help prevent your pants from getting grease on it from the chain. One thing that I would have liked to see is a protector here on the chainstay. Highly recommend you purchase some 3M clear tape here to protect this nice looking frame from any chain slap. One other thing I wanted to point out with these fenders is they do have flaps at the end. Definitely looks a little bit nicer and of course is going to protect you from rain a little bit more than fenders that don't have these rear flaps. All right, and that concludes the walk around of the Gen 3 Stride. Really like the accessibility of this electric bike. I think they did a really nice job, and I really like that paint color. I think the white looks really great. With that, let's get to some first-person riding footage. I'll go through the various pedal assist modes. I will take this bike up a hill with throttle only so we can get a sense of how powerful that Bafang motor is. All right, let's get to that footage. Okay, let's get to some first-person riding footage with the Gen 3 Stride. I'm actually pretty excited about this one because it does have a Bafang motor that I haven't tested out before, at least that I'm aware of. Usually I see the Bafang fat tire motors that obviously fit on fat tire wheels, and these are obviously narrower tires on this bike, 1.75 inches, and so it does have that narrower motor. Now Gen 3 says that this is a 500 watt nominal 900 watt peak motor, which given the tire size, and I think this bike is actually pretty lightweight. I will weigh it and let you know how much it weighs, but it does feel like a super nimble electric bike, so I'm thinking this motor is going to feel pretty powerful. I will go ahead and do throttle only first. And this is a class 2 electric bike, so top speed should be 20 miles per hour, both with throttle and pedal assist. Now you might be able to go into the advanced settings and override this, though it wasn't immediately apparent on how to do this. And usually when a company advertises their bike as a class 2 electric bike, I kind of like to do my review as a class 2 electric bike. Obviously that fits into the regulations. And especially if it's not very apparent on how to change the speed, tend to leave it as is, unless of course they're advertising a higher speed of 28 miles per hour. Then of course I will go ahead and see if their claims are true. But anyway, we will start off in throttle only. And I do have to say I like this little thumb throttle right next to the display, and very minimalistic display. Not sure, probably can't read that. I do have the front headlight on, so it is backlit, but I do have the speed here on the speedometer app by Coolnex. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, throttle. There's 10, 13, 15, 18, and there's 20, and definitely feeling the motor cut off. I would say it definitely has more power to get you faster. And I was in pedal assist 1, which means that it's giving you the full amount of power in all the pedal assist modes. You do have 5 pedal assist levels on this electric bike. Now, one thing I do get asked quite frequently is, can you pedal this electric bike, whichever one I happen to be reviewing, with no assist? And definitely with these narrower tires, it is a little bit easier. I'm in 5th gear here and doing a little bit of work, not too terribly much. This is a flat road, going about 9 miles an hour. Hills are still going to be a challenge, but I could shift down if I wanted to and make it much easier on myself. Let's go ahead and go into the various pedal assist modes. Going pedal assist 1 here, and I am going to shift down a little bit here. Third gear, definitely spinning the legs a little bit. Definitely would shift up. We often ride all of our electric bikes in the highest gear unless we're going up a hill. So fourth gear, that feels a little bit better. Leisurely cadence. Let's go ahead and go into pedal assist 2 here. Feel the motor kicking a little bit. There's 12, 14. I think I could shift up again here. So again, we usually ride in the highest gear and then adjust the pedal assist levels because we do like to ride at higher speeds. So fifth gear, pedal assist 2 feels pretty good. Good balance between working a little bit, but not letting the motor do all of the work. Let's go ahead and go into pedal assist 3 here. Feel the motor kick in there. I think I'm gonna have to go into 7th gear. Yeah, definitely 7th gear here. And there's 16, 17 miles an hour. All right, pedal assist 4. And I feel that motor kick in a lot there as well. And I think we're hitting that, we're at least getting close to that 20 miles an hour. Legs are spinning a little bit. Definitely would maybe prefer a little bit more resistance. Of course, that's going to be all rider preference. Let's go ahead and go into pedal assist 5. And I did feel a little bit of a boost there. And there's the 20 miles an hour top speed. And I can pedal harder if I want to, but I'm really not going to get any higher than that 20 miles an hour. So what will be really interesting to see is how this Bafang motor can handle hills. So let's get to that footage. Okay, here we are at the hill climb test, the hill that I test out all of the electric bikes that I review. We will put on the screen the specs of this hill because it does look much smaller on the GoPro, and one of the nice things is because this is the hill that we test out all of the electric bikes that we review, you can compare them side by side and get a sense of the performance of the motor. And I do have to apologize if I don't sound quite as good as I usually do. Unfortunately, my voice recorder stopped working, and so I'm using the GoPro audio. So apologies if you can hear the wind noise. Unfortunately, we don't get too many nice days like this in Wisconsin, and so I really have to keep filming while the weather is nice. And actually, I do need to go ahead and turn the speedometer on here. So we'll start here with throttle only, and then I will pedal to give you a sense of what this motor can do. So there's 20 miles an hour with the throttle, and I have no doubt that this bike will be able to handle the hill, just given how it has performed. And I did have the bike fully charged before I started riding today. And now the hill's really starting 18 miles an hour. And again, we are benefiting from those thinner tires. 15 miles an hour, 14. And I think that might be the lowest we'll hit. So about what I would personally expect from a 500 watt motor that peaks at 900 watts. $16. All right, and we are almost at the top of the hill. And if you can hear that in the background, might be a little bit of brake rub. I do usually only hear it when the motor is engaged. Might have some adjusting to do. All right, there we are at the top of the hill. Okay, next I will do the same hill and we'll go in the various pedal assist modes. I'll go in the various gears so you can get a sense of what this bike can do. Okay, now let's get started going up the hill. I do have it in pedal assist 1, second gear. We'll see how this feels. And I'm going to guess that I would usually use a higher level of pedal assist. Of course, if you want to conserve battery, you definitely can do this. I think in pedal assist 1, first or second gear. Not going to go very fast, but I'm also not working hard. Again, 10 amp hour battery on here. There's 8 miles an hour. Let's go ahead and go into pedal assist 2. Definitely feel that motor kick in. Feel like I need to shift up second gear, maybe even third gear. That feels pretty comfortable. Typically when I ride, I really like finding that balance where I'm definitely providing some of my own effort, but not a ton. Let's go ahead and go into pedal assist 3. Definitely going to shift up here, 4th, 5th. Still not working too terribly hard, I would say. Let's go ahead and go to pedal assist 4. 6th gear, 7th gear, just 14, 15 miles an hour. And let's go ahead and go into pedal assist 5. And so yeah, if you are thinking about this electric bike and wondering if it can handle hills, I definitely think it is capable. Of course, there are more powerful electric bikes on the market, but in a high pedal assist level and even in a high gear, I definitely would feel very comfortable going up that hill. Okay, with that, let's get to some third-person riding footage, and I'll give you my concluding thoughts on the Gen3 Stride. The Gen3 Stride is just one of several models offered from Gen3. The Flex is their take on a more hybrid e-bike that would allow for some light off-roading. And what e-bike brand would be complete without a fat tire option and a folding option? The Outcross and Groove are also available. I chose to review the Stride for its accessible step-through frame since I see more and more people opting for step-through e-bikes. Even at 6 feet tall, I felt comfortable on the Stride, and Gen3 states a minimum rider height of 5 feet tall. In my opinion, the lighter weight also lends itself to being an e-bike that those who are new to e-bikes would feel comfortable on. The 500 watt nominal, 900 watt peak motor surprised me, especially going up the hill. The weight, narrower tires at 1.75 inches, and the motor all work nicely together, creating an extremely nimble ride. That was my first reaction after having ridden a flurry of fat tire e-bikes before filming this review. As Gen3 advertises, this is an around-the-town e-bike, and it fits that definition well. The other components you'll find around this e-bike are pretty standard equipment for an e-bike at this price. A basic LCD screen, adequate mechanical disc brakes, Shimano shifter, and derailleur. It is nice that Gen3 includes front and rear fenders, the rear rack, and front and rear lights, even if the rear one is battery operated. The 10 amp hour battery capacity is smaller than the average size, which I view as 14 amp hours, but if you happen to snag this e-bike when it's on sale, closer to $1,100 or $1,200, that's about the battery size that's common at that price point. Gen3 states a maximum range of 40 miles, which seems about right if you're in the lowest pedal assist level and providing plenty of your own power. Of course, the weight of the bike and narrower tires also work in your favor for extending range. Speaking of the battery, I do like the clean look of the integrated battery. Gen3 is a new company to me, but it's pretty clear that their intentions are value-priced e-bikes, and that's just what they delivered with the Gen3 Stride. It's a decent e-bike for the price and even looks great, save for the slight mistake with the branding on the unit I received. And just another tip, the company has a certified pre-owned section of their website with e-bikes priced at just $8.99. The company is based in Bellevue, Washington, and has made a quick entrance into the electric bike space. While time will tell, it seems like customer support is a focus for the company, and that's something to put a lot of weight on when you're purchasing an electric bike. Again, check out the link in the description if you're planning to make a purchase with Gen 3 and want to support the channel. Thanks for your support, and thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.